Hi folks, today I'm going to be reviewing Shazam, or the other Captain Marvel, as he's known to some people. I'll mention more of that later on in the review. I saw it over the weekend, and I have to say, I've been a bit wary about DC movies for a long time now. They haven't really done it for me, and that's coming from like a really big comic book fan. Like, I read comics, I watch all the films, I'm really into it. So DC have let me down too many times, and even the films that have been successful haven't really done it for me. So films like Wonder Woman was good. I think it was overrated, if I'm honest. Aquaman was, again, it was good. It was kind of fun, forgettable. I thought it struggled a lot with its tone. So like some scenes it was kind of be serious, and then in another scene there was an octopus playing the drums. So I guess it had something for everyone. But for me, it was just okay. It wasn't like nowhere near as good quality as the Marvel movies. And it's a shame because I'm rooting for DC. I'm a big DC fan as well as Marvel. I love Batman, like Superman. I love the Justice League. You know, it's left me a bit scarred, if I'm honest. And then, Shazam came out, and I'm a bit indifferent about Shazam as a character. Always have been. But I decided to give this a go. And you know what? I'm glad I did, because it's actually a really good movie. So the basic plot is Billy Batson. He's a foster kid who's bouncing around from foster home, searching for his birth mother. He ends up in this foster home with like 5 other kids. And along the way, he meets like a wizard who needs to turn him into his champion to protect the world. And he gets all these superpowers. And he becomes Shazam, who's like an adult version of him. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It really is. They seem to have learned a lot, DC, over the last couple of years. And this film it's really funny. It's got a lot of heart. The relationships between like Billy and his like surrogate foster family, it starts off very frosty. He doesn't care about them. All he cares about is finding his mum. But over the course of the film, he builds up this really good friendship with Freddie Freeman, who's one of the kids, who teaches him all about being a superhero because he's a superhero fan. Freddie Freeman, he's probably my favourite character in this film. He's so funny. Like, he's genuinely is quite funny. And the interaction between him and Shazam, brilliant. It really works. This is big, the film, but with superheroes. That's what this film is, essentially. So it's a child in an adult's body, but with superpowers. And seeing him kind of deal with the superpowers and learning how to use them and learning how to be a hero, it's good. It's really good. It's a fun journey to watch. And Zachary Levi, or Levy, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, he plays the role perfectly. He's like got this childhood innocence about him when he's like discovering how what the things he can do. And you think to yourself, that's exactly how I would feel if I just found superpowers. So he plays the role really, really well. I liked him as Shazam. Mark Strong's the villain in this film, and Mark Strong's great. I love Mark Strong in anything that he does. Unfortunately, I think his villain in this is a bit one-dimensional, which is a shame because they kind of build him up at the very beginning of the film. They show him as a child, and you kind of sympathise with him a lot. He's a very sympathetic character. He's got a really bad childhood, and you almost feel sorry for him. Well, I did feel sorry for him. And then when you see him again as an adult, he's kind of, none of that's really developed upon. He's basically a bad guy who's out to get power and be evil. So he's a typical supervillain. So I think they missed a trick there with not developing him a bit more. But like I say, he's still good. He's still a good villain, because he's Mark Strong and he's a great actor. What else can I say? Genuinely, it's a really fun film. I have got a few issues with it, which I'll go into. So yeah, as I say, the villain was a bit one-dimensional. I think they could have developed his story a bit more because they set him up to be kind of like sympathetic. You're going to feel sorry for him, but then you just don't. I think it was wasted. Also, he teams up with the 7 Deadly Sins, and they're basically just CGI villains, and the CGI was a bit weak. And I wanted more kind of from them. Because you can't really distinguish what they are. They're just generic CGI monsters, really. Like, one of them's a bit fat. I think that was Gluttony. but the rest are all just kind of interchangeable. They could be any sin, really. They don't really differentiate them very well. And again, DC are really struggling with their CGI villains. Like their CGI is terrible. They need to kind of invest more in that aspect of it. If you compare these guys to Thanos in Infinity War, it's completely different. Like Thanos is a completely realized character on screen. You believe him. You believe he's real. These things, they're just like video game cutaway shots. I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't like it. Also, one of the major plot points of the film is that Billy's looking for his birth mother, and he's desperate to find her, and he doesn't care about anyone else. He just wants to get back to his mum. And when they resolve that, because they resolve that towards the end of the second act. I didn't like it. It didn't feel right to me the way they resolved that particular plot point. It felt just a bit rushed and underdeveloped, and it just didn't work at all for me. I wanted more from that scene, but yeah, it just seemed that scene was there to kind of motivate him to then embrace his new family, which it felt a bit cheap to me. It felt a bit lacking in emotion for me. Also, this is a real pedantic plot point, but as a comic book fan, it's always been an issue for me. So in the film, he's called Shazam, and also the magic word that he uses to turn himself into Shazam is Shazam. So to me, it's kind of like creates a logistical kind of problem. Like, how is he going to refer to himself without changing? How can he introduce himself to people and say, "Oh, I'm Shazam," without changing into like either Billy or Shazam? It doesn't make any sense. Like, they got away with this years ago because he used to be Captain Marvel. And then I think Marvel and DC had a bit of a kind of legal battle about whether they could use the name or not. And it was decided that Marvel had the rights to the name. So now DC can't refer to him as Captain Marvel, which is ridiculous, because calling him Shazam, which is also his magic word to change him back and forth between Billy and Shazam, how's that going to work? How's he going to introduce himself to the Justice League? It's like, "Oh, hi, my name's Shazam. Oh, sorry, I'm a 15-year-old kid." It's, it doesn't work. I think it's a real problem in the comics. They kind of wrote around it by saying he has to put particular emphasis on the word Shazam in order to make the transformation happen. And the film just glossed over. It didn't really go into it at all. It's like basically saying anytime he says Shazam, it'll transform. It doesn't matter what kind of emphasis he puts on it. So that's just one slight little nitpick from a comic book fan here. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. They had a couple of callbacks to Big, which was quite nice. But yeah, like I say, it's the best DC film I've seen to date. It's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of fun. You feel quite connected to the characters. As I say, Zachary Levi is really, really good. Another thing that really put me off, I know this sounds weird, but it's so obvious that he's in kind of like a bodysuit that it kind of distracted me a lot throughout the film. I would rather he just like had his natural body. I know maybe he's not as bulked up as Captain Marvel should be, or Shazam. But it did kind of distract me a few times because he's got this like little head and a massive body. It just looked a bit fake to me. But yeah, other than the few little nitpicks I had, I genuinely liked it. So I'm giving Shazam a 7 out of 10, and I'd recommend it. And I hope this is the start of DC kind of making some decent standalone movies, because I think that's where their strengths really lie. So just focus on them. Leave the Justice League for now. Maybe develop that later, in 10 years' time. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now, folks. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, leave a comment below. I'll catch you guys later.